passed. Call Reno Cherokatani.
Mr. Speaker, e mihi tonu atu kia koutou Rongowhakaata me ngā uri o te kōti rikirangi tēnā koutou. Nau mahara mai roto i te tuanui o tēnei te whare rai ona. E aku hoa, e aku mema o tēnei paramata tēnā koutou katoa. Mr. Speaker, it's an honour to join my Labour colleagues this evening in support of the first reading of the Rongowhakaata Claims Settlement Bill. Mr. Speaker, as we've heard from the previous speakers this evening, this is a long journey in terms of the progression of our treaty settlement claims, in particular for Rongowhakaata. In fact, this year, Mr. Speaker, marks the 20 years since the lodging of the first of Rongowhakaata's claims with the Waitangi Tribunal. And I acknowledge Stan Pardo, who I had some professional dealings with when I was with Ngāi Tahu in their fisheries, and Tūtekawa Waili and other members of Rongowhakaata who have come here this evening and acknowledged their work right at that early stages 20 years ago. So there's been a long 20-year history in the progression right through to the deed of settlement, which was signed on the 30th of September last year. And this bill, Mr. Speaker, the passage of this bill into legislation gives effect to certain aspects of the deed of settlement. And so I'm very proud to be standing alongside my Labour colleagues to support this bill. As has been discussed, covered earlier in the other speeches, Mr. Speaker, the grievances of Rongowhakaata represent some of the darkest history of our country. Very, very severe breaches of the Treaty of Waitangi. And so I just acknowledge the people of Rongowhakaata, in particular the kaumātua who initiated and have worked on this claim and who can't be with us this evening. The kaumātua that are here this evening, the mandated negotiators, and some of whom I mentioned earlier, the Claims Committee, and the people of Rongowhakaata. And I also like to acknowledge Ngāuri o Te Kōti Rikirangi, the whānau associated with Te Kōti Rikirangi, who have also joined and are part of this bill. So, Mr. Speaker, there is a long history, a long grievance for Rongowhakaata, and it's great that we have come to this stage of this first reading whereby we can, and myself personally, play our part to aid in the progression of this bill so we can ultimately reach the final passage into legislation, and then Rongowhakaata can be recapitalised in a way and initiate all of the aspects of the settlement so they can actually forge their own future. Because, Mr. Speaker, the breaches of the Treaty of Waitangi, which the Crown inflicted on Rongowhakaata, there were over 20 chiefs of the Tūranga region who signed the Treaty of Waitangi, including those from Rongowhakaata. And up until 1865, as the Honourable Parekura Horomia mentioned earlier, up until 1865, the Rongowhakaata people were very, very successful, productive iwi, productive landowners, productive entrepreneurs. They owned and operated several trading ships, including Te Raka, Whitipaia, and various other trading ships. And they were involved in exports from Tūranga up to Auckland and over across to Australia. So what a amazing history that Rongowhakaata has. And whilst there is important that we go through the process of acknowledgements and apologies, I'm just looking forward to the post-settlement future that iwi like Rongowhakaata and other iwis are embarking on post their treaty settlements. And I look forward to seeing Rongowhakaata again exporting to the world. I know they're already doing it already from a lot of their lands, productive lands up there. And we did so with Stan in the fisheries. So I'm looking forward to them to actually reinstigating that fleet of trading ships around the world. Wouldn't that be great? So just getting back to the provisions of the legislation of the bill, there are three parts to the bill, Mr. Speaker. I won't actually go into the aspects of the cultural and commercial aspects of the redress, but I think it's very important that for me, in reading the bill, the acknowledgements and the apologies that the Crown has agreed to and that have been expressed in the deed of settlement and also in the bill. Because, as the Honourable Parekura mentioned, you know, it is a very dark history, but it's one that actually the light needs to be brought upon it, and it's a recognition of the process that has been gone through, that it is actually for all time reflected in the legislation, in the bill, and which will eventually go through to legislation that of those grievances. And in particular, we go back to the oppression in Wairingahika, the exile of many Rongowhakaata to the Chatham Islands, the summary executions by the Crown military officers in the events at Ngātapa, the deed of cession, which was forced on Rongowhakaata under duress, which extinguished all of their customary land interests, and the further fragmentation, alienation and confiscations of their lands through various commissions and other mechanisms of the Crown, such as the Public Works Act, which continued right up until this last century. So, as has been fully documented through the Waitangi Tribunal's inquiry and in the deed of settlement, that is a very dark history, but it's good that we have the opportunity to reflect that, and the Crown especially to acknowledge the breaches of the treaty and its principles to Rongowhakaata through those historic actions. Mr. Speaker, I'd also now like to just talk briefly around Ngā Uri o Te Kōti Rekirangi, which is also joined with Rongowhakaata in this bill. And Te Kōti Rekirangi was the founder of Te Hāhi Ringatū, highly respected and revered, a spiritual and cultural figurehead for many Māori and Pākehā alike. And again, I commend this bill for rectifying and correcting a lot of the misinformation that has been out there on Te Kōti, and I commend the provisions which put the record straight. I also, as a member of the Hāhi Rātana, Tahu Pōtiki Wirumu Rātana is one of the greatest Māori leaders our country's ever had in my background. and so therefore it's great that we can have recognition for Te Kōti Rekirangi and wider appreciation of the contribution and the legacy of that tremendous, wonderful leader of our people. And so, Mr. Speaker, I just very much tautoko Rongowhakaata. I thank them for travelling down this evening. I'm looking forward to being as a member of the Māori Affairs Select Committee and tautokoing this bill and working under my whanaunga, Tau, and other fellow members, and travelling to Rongowhakaata through the Select Committee process. And I commend this bill to the next stage and look forward to further contributions. Kia ora no tātou.
Call Macharia Ture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.